Dr. Michael Torres stood in front of the huge screen at the Geneva Genetic Research Center and watched streams of data flow like rivers of light. 12 scientists from 6 different countries were waiting behind him in tense silence. The Swiss Alps shone in the morning sun outside, but inside this room, they were about to look at something much older than mountains. Dr. Lisa Chen, the youngest member of the team, whispered, "Are we really doing this?" Her hands shook a little as she held her data pad. Michael turned to look at them. He had seen a lot of breakthroughs in his 30 years of genetic research, but nothing like what they were about to show him. "For decades we've been mapping the human genome," he said, his voice steady but full of feeling. "We've been able to trace our family tree back thousands of years. We've found Neanderthal DNA, Denisovan markers, and bits of species we don't know much about. But what we've learned in the last 6 months..." He stopped for a moment so he could think about what was going on. "It makes everything different." The screen behind him moved, and a 3-dimensional model of human DNA appeared. It slowly turned. The well-known double helix shape glowed in blues and greens, but there were also groups of sequences that pulsed in deep purple. These were markers that shouldn't have been there. Dr. James Cooper, an experienced geneticist from Oxford, came forward. Even though he had a gray beard, you could still see how excited he was. "When we started the Global Genome Project, we had one simple goal: to make a list of all the differences in human DNA in all populations. We thought we would see patterns of migration, how people adapted to different climates, and changes in their diets. Normal things that happen in evolution. But then we found the outliers," Dr. Maria Santos from Brazil said as she pulled up a new picture. "Sequences that didn't fit with any known evolutionary path. We thought at first that they were mistakes or contamination in our samples. So we tried again. And once more. We got samples from tribes in the Amazon that were cut off from the rest of the world, from villages in Mongolia that were far away, and from islands in the Pacific that had been cut off from the rest of the world for hundreds of years. Every sample had the purple markers in it." Michael watched his team's faces as they realized what they had been living with for months. He said softly, "These sequences are found in every person on Earth, no matter their race, where they live, or where their ancestors came from. They aren't new mutations. Carbon dating of ancient DNA from remains that are up to 45,000 years old shows that they have always been there. They're the building blocks of what makes us human." "But they're not from Earth," Lisa whispered, finishing the thought that everyone else was having. Everyone in the room stopped talking. People outside drank coffee, went to work, and worried about everyday things just like always. They had no idea that the definition of what it means to be human was being changed in this room. Dr. Yuki Tanaka from Japan brought up a chart that showed the differences. "Check this out. On the left, you can see normal evolutionary markers, which show how DNA changes over time through natural selection, random mutation, and adaptation to the environment. It's a mess with no clear path and a lot of guesswork. That's how evolution happens. It's a beautiful mess." The right side of the screen showed something very different. The purple sequences made exact geometric shapes, which are mathematical structures that repeated exactly. "This isn't chaos," Yuki said, his voice full of awe. "This is design. This is engineering. These sequences are too perfect and planned to be natural." Michael felt a chill run down his spine, just like the first time he saw this information. He said, "We call it the vault. That's what it is. A genetic vault locked up in every cell of the body waiting to be opened. The question isn't if it's there. We have shown that without a doubt. The question is, who put it there and why?" Dr. Cooper brought up pictures of the night sky, which showed galaxies spinning, nebulae glowing, and groups of stars that are billions of years old. "People have always looked up and asked, are we alone? We have sent probes into space, listened for radio signals, and looked for planets that might have life on them. We've been looking for the answer outside of ourselves. But what if," Maria said softly, "the answer has always been inside us?" Michael nodded and turned back to the DNA model that was spinning on the screen. "In the next part of our study, we'll show you exactly what we found in the vault. Based on Earth's history of evolution, these traits shouldn't exist. Abilities that seem to be made for situations we've never seen on Earth. Sounds from something or someone that is much older than human civilization." Lisa looked up from her data pad, her eyes shining with feeling. "My grandmother used to tell me stories about how the gods came down from the stars to teach people how to farm, use fire, and study the stars. I always thought they were just stories. Beautiful stories to help people from the past understand things. What if they weren't just stories?" Michael asked in a soft voice. "What if they were memories?" The team stood together, looking at the proof in front of them. It was all at once undeniable, revolutionary, scary, and amazing. They had crossed a line that couldn't be crossed again. The data was about to be made public to scientists all over the world and then to everyone else. James put his hand on Michael's shoulder. Everything will change once we publish this. Everything gets rewritten. History, religion, philosophy, and even our ideas about what it means to be human. Michael said, I know. That's why we have to do it. He looked at each member of his team and saw the mix of fear and excitement on their faces. They were going to tell people something that had been on their minds for thousands of years. You are not alone. You have never been by yourself. The proof has always been inside you, written in the most basic code that makes you who you are. Michael said, we present to the United Nations tomorrow. We're getting ready to answer the oldest question in history tonight. And the answer? He looked back at the purple lines that were shining on the screen. The answer is going to change everything. The sky outside started to get darker and stars began to show up. People walking below didn't know that some of those distant points of light held the key to where humans really came from. And in a lab in Geneva, 12 scientists got ready to open the vault that had been hidden in human DNA for tens of thousands of years. The cosmic bloodline test had started, and the results would be heard all over the galaxy. 3 days after the first announcement, the Geneva lab was the most important place in the scientific world. Dr. Torres stood in front of a full auditorium at the United Nations. Scientists, world leaders, and reporters from all over the world were there, and they were all very nervous. The air felt charged. Michael started by saying, let me show you something that can't be done. Then he pulled up the first genetic sequence on the huge screen behind him. This is a part of chromosome 7 in human DNA. Standard genetic theory says it should control certain metabolic functions. And it does. But there is something else in it, like a message that is easy to see but hard to find. He zoomed in on the sequence and the purple markers showed up, making a pattern that made a lot of the biologists in the audience gasp. Dr. Cooper joined him on stage and said, this is a mathematical code. It's a variation of the Fibonacci sequence, but it's been changed in ways that don't happen in nature. It's like someone put a mathematical signature in our DNA that says, this was made by intelligence. A journalist stood up, shaking. Are you saying that aliens changed human DNA? Maria Santos carefully moved to the podium and said, we're saying that there are structures in human genetics that can't be explained by natural evolution alone. Let me show you the proof in person. The screen changed to show scans of the human prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain that controls thinking and behavior. Maria went on, the human brain is much more complicated than it needs to be to stay alive on Earth. Compared to their body size, dolphins, elephants, and apes have big brains. But the human brain is different, especially the prefrontal cortex. It's not only bigger, it also has parts that seem to be made for things we hardly ever use. Yuki Tanaka stepped up and pulled up diagrams of neural pathways. Check out these patterns of connection. It looks like our brains have neural structures that are meant to process information at speeds and levels of complexity that are much higher than what we actually do. We have a supercomputer, but we're only using it to run simple programs. Why would evolution give us this ability if we don't need it? Unless, Lisa said, her voice carrying across the quiet room, we were made to need it at some point. For situations or problems we haven't faced yet. Michael brought up the next set of data, which were genetic markers that had to do with human immune systems. This is where it gets really interesting. We have discovered genetic sequences that code for immune responses to diseases and pathogens that are not found on Earth. Not diseases that have gone extinct, but diseases that have never existed here according to any fossil or geological record we have. The screen showed complicated molecular structures, like viruses and bacteria that looked strange even to trained virologists. Michael said, these genetic defenses are ready and waiting in our DNA, coded to respond to threats that our ancestors never faced. It's like the person who made the human immune system knew about threats from somewhere else. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a molecular biologist from Australia who had joined the research team, stepped up to the podium. Her finding was probably the most upsetting. We've also found something in what we call junk DNA, which is the 98% of our genome that doesn't code for proteins. Scientists have called it evolutionary leftovers and genetic trash for years. But it's not trash. Information that has been compressed. She pulled up a picture that looked like a huge library with shelves full of genetic code that held data. We've started to break down this information using advanced algorithms. And what we're finding is, she stopped for a moment, clearly upset. It's like a bank of memories. Genetic memories of places, environments, and weather that don't exist anywhere on Earth. Show them the strange oxygen, James said softly. Sarah nodded and pulled up data about the atmosphere. Human lungs are very good at getting oxygen out of the air. In fact, too efficient. We are perfectly adapted to the 21% oxygen in the air on Earth. But our DNA has backup breathing systems that work in atmospheres with 15% to 35% oxygen. This is a range that Earth hasn't seen in hundreds of millions of years, long before anything that looked like humans existed. It's like our ancestors, or our designers, got us ready for a lot of different places, Yuki said. Like Swiss Army knives for genetics, ready for planets we haven't found yet. Michael pulled up the most talked about slide, comparative genetics. DNA from a person on the left. On the right, made-up genetic structures based on math models of what advanced spacefaring species might need. The similarities were very clear. Michael quickly added, "We're not saying that humans are aliens," seeing the panic on some faces. "We're saying that our DNA looks like it has been changed on purpose, maybe by an advanced civilization. Imagine it like a program. The base code could be from Earth, where primates evolved naturally. But someone added patches, upgrades, and new programs." A Russian scientist stood up and his voice shook. "Dr. Torres, what you're talking about it's intelligent design. You're giving every anti-evolution group in the world more reasons to fight." Maria said firmly, "No. We're talking about smart intervention in an evolutionary process that was already happening. It's clear that primates evolved on Earth. The fossil record is clear. But something happened between 50,000 and 100,000 years ago. There's a genetic break, a sudden and complete jump in human abilities that can't be explained by natural selection alone." Lisa looked at archaeological data such as cave paintings, old tools, and proof that our ancestors' brains suddenly got better. "This is when we see the great leap forward in culture. Art, complicated language, thinking about the future, and abstract thinking all show up in the archaeological record in a short amount of time. Geneticists have always been curious about why. We might have an answer now." Michael said quietly, "The vault is open." Or turned on. Around this time, all of the genetic changes that had been made were fully expressed in the human population. And we turned into IOS. Fully modern humans with skills that go far beyond what they need to stay alive. Questions, arguments, disbelief, and amazement filled the auditorium. Michael let it happen for a little while before telling everyone to be quiet. "I know this is a lot to take in. We have lived with this data for months and it still keeps us up at night. But there's more. There are certain traits in human genetics that seem to be made for purposes that we are just starting to understand." He looked up information about human hands, focusing on the opposable thumb and fine motor control. "Our fine motor skills are amazing. Yes, it helped us make tools, but it's much more accurate than we needed for Stone Age tools. Our hands are made to be sensitive and in control so that we can do very delicate tasks like working with tiny parts and putting things together in complicated ways that our ancestors never did." Sarah added, "Our vocal cords can make thousands of different sounds, which is a lot more than we need to talk to each other. It's almost like we were meant to speak languages that are very complicated, or maybe even more than one language at the same time. And our eyes," Yuki went on, "can see a wider range of colors than we need to stay alive. Most mammals can only see a small range of things. This helps them find food and avoid predators. But people can tell the difference between millions of color shades. What? Unless the person who made us wanted us to enjoy beauty, art, and complexity in ways that go beyond just staying alive." The implications felt heavy in the air. Michael looked out at the people looking back at him. Some were scared, some were excited, and all of them had been changed by what they had heard. "These aren't just strange things," he said softly. "They're signatures. Proof of intent, goal, or plan. Our DNA isn't just a record of where we've been in the past. It's a plan for where we should go. Someone, somewhere, got people ready for a future that goes far beyond this world." "But who?" someone in the crowd whispered. Michael smiled sadly. "That's what we're going to look into next. Because they left clues in our genes, in our myths, and in our desire to learn and explore. We might be able to figure out who our cosmic ancestors really were if we look closely enough." The end of the session was a mess, with excitement, fear, disbelief, and wonder all mixed up. But one thing was clear: people would never see themselves the same way again. The vault had been opened, and the strange things inside showed that people were part of something much bigger than anyone had thought. Dr. Torres couldn't sleep in his hotel room, which had a view of Lake Geneva. The news had spread like wildfire around the world. The UN speech had been shown all over the world and people were trying to figure out who they were now. His tablet was always buzzing with messages from co-workers, reporters, and a surprising number of anthropologists, historians, and archaeologists. One message stood out. It was from Dr. Catherine Rodriguez, a well-known expert on ancient cultures. "You need to see what we've found, Michael. Your DNA matches the mysteries we've found in the ground. Come to Cairo. Right away. 3 days later, Michael was in a private research center under the Egyptian Museum, surrounded by artifacts that looked very different now that they knew about the genetic discoveries. Catherine, a passionate woman in her 50s with sun-damaged skin and sharp eyes, pulled him to a table with old tablets on it. 4 years, she said, her voice getting faster with excitement, we've been translating Sumerian texts that talk about the Anunnaki, beings who came from the heavens and taught humans how to farm, study the stars, do math, and write. We always thought of these as myths, gods made up to explain things that happen in nature. She put a picture of a cuneiform tablet in front of him. But listen to this translation. They came from the stars between stars, where the great darkness holds light. They mixed their essence with the kids of the earth to make people who would connect the sky and the ground. Michael, mixed their essence. That's not a poetic way to say it. That's what genetic engineering is all about. Michael's heart started to race. James Cooper, who had insisted on going on this trip, leaned in to look at the tablets. Catherine, are you saying that the Sumerian creation stories are real records of what happened? Look at this, she said, taking out more pictures. They had Egyptian hieroglyphs, Mayan codices, Hindu Vedic texts, and even rock art from Aboriginal Australians. Different cultures, separated by oceans and thousands of miles, never met each other, but they all tell the same basic story. People from the sky came down, taught humans advanced knowledge, and in almost every culture they changed, or awakened, us. Maria Santos, who had flown in from Brazil with records of indigenous tribes, added her proof. There are stories among the Kayapo people in the Amazon about B.P. Kurorodi, a visitor from space who wore a strange suit and taught them how to farm and study the stars. But here's the interesting part. He told them he changed something in the people to help them understand the stars. Yuki had information from Japanese Shinto texts, Lisa had records from Native American traditions, and Dr. Okoye from Nigeria had histories of African tribes. Every culture had the same story. People from the stars came to Earth and changed people. It's not just stories, Catherine said as she pulled up a digital display. Check out these archaeological sites. The screen showed Stonehenge, the Giza pyramids, Pumapunku in Bolivia, Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, and dozens of other places. These buildings were built with such precise astronomical measurements that the technology of the time shouldn't have been able to do it. Göbekli Tepe is 12,000 years old. It was built before farming, writing, and civilization as we know it. But it lines up perfectly with certain groups of stars. Constellations that, James said while looking at the data, would have been in different places 12,000 years ago because the Earth is precessing. The person who built this knew a lot about math and astronomy. Catherine brought up pictures of old carvings. And look at what they left behind. This is from the Mayan site of Palenque. That doesn't look like someone in a spaceship. The carving showed a person sitting down with complicated-looking machinery around them and flames or smoke coming from below. This is from a cave in India that was made 10,000 years ago. There were disc-shaped things in the sky and people who looked like they were wearing helmets or spacesuits in the rock painting. This is Aboriginal art from Australia that is thousands of years old. More things that look like discs and more people in strange clothes. And this, Catherine said softly, holding up a picture that made everyone in the room stop talking, is from the Baghdad Museum's recovered artifacts. It showed a Sumerian cylinder seal that clearly showed a solar system, with planets going around a central sun. This is 4,500 years old. The Sumerians shouldn't have known that the sun is the center of the solar system. It wasn't until Copernicus in the 16th century that people learned about it officially. But here it is, carved in stone, thousands of years ago. Michael sat down hard because the evidence was too much for him to handle. He whispered, "They left breadcrumbs. Whoever changed our DNA left proof of it all over human history. They wanted us to know when we were ready to understand." "But why?" Lisa asked, saying what everyone else was thinking. "If they could change our genes and teach ancient people advanced knowledge, why would they leave? Why not stay and help us?" Dr. Okoye, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. His deep voice held the weight of wisdom passed down through the ages. "My grandmother told stories in our village. She told stories that had been told for generations about the sky people. But she also told us why they went. She said, they gave us the seeds but we have to grow the tree ourselves. If a tree doesn't reach for the sun, its roots are weak." As the meaning sank in, the room fell silent. "They didn't leave us," Maria said slowly. "They got us ready and then stepped back, letting us grow on our own. You have to let them fall and learn just like parents do when they teach their kids to walk. Otherwise they'll never really know how to stand." Michael looked at his genetic data on his tablet and compared it to the archaeological evidence. Check out the timeline. About 50,000 to 100,000 years ago, there were big changes in genes. Then, about 12,000 years ago, we start to see these amazing structures and new ideas. It seems like the genetic programming didn't start working right away. A timer, James said. They didn't just change us, they set the course for our growth. When we reached certain population levels and technological thresholds, different parts of our genetic code turned on, moving us toward the next stage. Yuki opened a star map. And they left behind a map. Check out how these old buildings are lined up with the stars. Göbekli Tepe points to the constellation Cygnus. The pyramids are in line with Orion's belt. Draco looks like Angkor Wat. The Pleiades are where Mayan temples face. These aren't random, they're leading us somewhere. Or showing us where they came from, Catherine said. Every old culture says their gods came from certain stars. The Egyptians talked about Orion and Sirius. The Sumerians pointed to a planet in our own solar system called Nibiru. The Dogon people of Mali know a lot about the Sirius star system, even Sirius B, which you can't see with the naked eye. The Hopis say they came from the Pleiades. Michael got up and started to walk around. Our DNA has been telling us that we are not alone. And now our own past backs it up. There is no doubt that we come from space, the proof is clear. What were we made to do? What were they trying to do when they made this genetic vault inside of us? Maria showed pictures of things people have done like space stations, particle colliders, the internet, and medical technology. Maybe it's clear, she said in a low voice. Look at what we've done in just a few thousand years. From tools made of stone to splitting atoms. From cave art to computers. We explore, we find things, we make things, and we always reach for the stars. Because, Lisa said with a sense of wonder in her voice, we're supposed to join them. That's what the vault is for. We didn't just happen to evolve intelligence. We are not Earth's children. We are cosmic children who were planted here to grow, learn, and struggle. All of this was done so that one day we would be ready to take our place among the stars. Slowly, Dr. Okoye nodded. The sky people always said they would come back when people were ready in our stories, after we had shown that we were good enough. Not by conquering or ruling, but by wisdom, compassion, and creativity. Michael said, and maybe the vault itself is the test, as he looked at the genetic sequences on his tablet. They gave us more than just intelligence. They also gave us empathy, the ability to appreciate beauty, the drive to protect others, and the ability to express ourselves through art. They didn't just make us smart, they made us human in the most profound way. They gave us traits that would make us good citizens of the universe. Catherine pulled up one last picture, the Voyager Golden Record, which was a message from people sent into space in 1977. We've been trying to get to them, not even knowing that they're already inside us, in every cell. We've been calling out to the universe, and the universe has been answering back through our DNA. James said quietly, the echoes from the stars aren't just memories. They are invitations. The question is, are we ready to answer? Michael looked at his team and the evidence of humanity's cosmic heritage that was all around them. The stories weren't just stories. It wasn't a coincidence that there was advanced knowledge in the past. The genetic problems weren't mistakes. It all came together to form one amazing truth. People were part of a galactic family that had to grow apart for a while but would eventually come back together. He finally said, we need to show the world this link. It's not just the genetics, it's the history, the archaeology, and the patterns. We need to help people understand that we're not learning we're aliens. We're learning that we're children of the cosmos and that we've finally grown up enough to understand where we came from. The picture became clearer as they worked through the night, linking genetic evidence to historical records. Our compassion, creativity, resilience, and unyielding desire to explore are what make us strong. It was made, improved, and given to us as gifts by cosmic ancestors who wanted us to do well. The sounds coming from the stars were getting louder. And soon people would learn to echo back. Maya arrived at the containment wing at dawn, carrying a notebook and a thermos of tea. The night shift handlers looked exhausted, their eyes red from monitoring the creature's relentless attacks. Didn't sleep at all, one reported to Bronson. Same pattern. Attacks every 47 minutes like clockwork, then paces for exactly 12 minutes before starting again. Maya wrote this down. Patterns meant intelligence. Patterns meant purpose. I need access to the observation room, she said. The one with the audio feed. Lisa crossed her arms. You planning to talk to it? It doesn't understand human language. I'm planning to listen. For the next 6 hours, Maya sat in the small observation booth, headphones on, notebook filling with observations. She didn't watch the creature's attacks. She watched everything in between. The way it circled the cell counterclockwise, always counterclockwise. The way it touched the same spot on the eastern wall every rotation, talons scraping gently, almost reverently. The way its eyes dimmed when it thought no one was watching, the amber glow fading to something sadder. And the sounds? Oh, the sounds. Between the roars there were other noises. Soft chirps. Low thrums that vibrated through the audio feed. Once she could have sworn she heard something like a whimper. "This is pointless," a handler named Marcus said, bringing her a sandwich at hour 8. "You're just watching it walk in circles." "No," Maya said softly, not looking away from the screen. "I'm watching it grieve." "Grieve? It's an animal." "Is it?" She rewound the footage, pointing to a sequence. "Look here. Every time it touches that wall section, its body language changes. The aggression drops. It becomes gentle. That's not random." Marcus leaned closer, frowning. "Could be marking territory. Then why does it never mark anywhere else? And why does it only happen when it thinks no one is watching?" Maya tapped her pen against the notebook. "What if that wall faces the direction of its home world? What if it's remembering?" "You're reading too much into this." But Maya wasn't listening anymore. She was watching the creature settle into the far corner, its massive body curling into a position that seemed almost protective. Its talons were tucked close, its spikes flattened against its back. The posture of something trying to make itself smaller. Trying to hide. On day 2, Maya made her first direct attempt at contact. She stood before the reinforced glass, visible to the creature, and simply waited. The creature noticed her immediately. Its eyes blazed amber, and it charged the barrier with a deafening roar. The handlers jumped back, hands on their weapons, but Maya stood still. "You're terrified too," she said quietly, knowing it couldn't hear her through the soundproofed glass. "I see you." The creature slammed into the barrier again, claws screeching against the transparent metal. But this time Maya noticed something. The attack wasn't aimed at her. It was aimed slightly to her left, at the armed guards behind her. She turned to Bronson. "Can everyone else leave? Just for 10 minutes. "Absolutely not. Protocols? Please. I need to test something." Bronson hesitated, then nodded curtly. 10 minutes. We'll be watching from the monitors." When the others left, Maya approached the glass again. This time she sat down, cross-legged, making herself smaller, less threatening. She placed her palms flat on the floor in a gesture of openness. The creature cocked its head, a distinctly curious motion. For 5 full minutes they simply looked at each other. Maya breathed slowly, deliberately, letting her fear settle into calm. She thought peaceful thoughts, memories of quiet mornings and gentle rain, letting her empathic presence radiate as much safety as she could muster. The creature's eyes dimmed slightly. Its spikes lowered a fraction. Then it did something extraordinary. It sat. Not an aggressive crouch, but an actual seated position, mimicking her posture as much as its alien anatomy allowed. Maya's breath caught. "You're trying to communicate," she whispered. Over the intercom, she heard someone swear in disbelief. The moment shattered when the doors opened and the handlers returned. The creature immediately leaped up, roaring, aggressive once more. But Maya had seen the truth beneath the fury. This was no mindless beast. On day 3 the pressure intensified. Station Director Kovac visited the containment wing, a severe woman in an immaculate uniform. "I've reviewed your reports, Miss Chen," she said coldly. "I see a lot of speculation and very little concrete progress. This creature has cost us 2 lives and considerable resources. I'm moving up the termination to tomorrow unless you can provide definitive proof it's not a threat." "It's not a threat, it's threatened," Maya argued. "Give me more time. I'm close to a breakthrough. You're emotionally compromised. You've anthropomorphized a predator." Kovac turned to leave. "Tomorrow. 1800 hours. Make your case or it dies." Maya worked through the night, reviewing every second of footage, every note she'd made. There had to be something she was missing, some key to unlocking communication. At 3 a.m. she found it. The soft thrums the creature made, they weren't random. They followed a pattern. A rhythm. And when she matched them to the creature's movements, they correlated perfectly with states of calm. It was trying to self-soothe. Like a human humming to comfort themselves. Maya's hands shook as she realized the implications. This creature didn't just have emotions. It had self-awareness. It knew it was afraid and was trying to manage its fear. She ran to the observation room and activated the external speakers, something usually used for alarm warnings. The handlers on duty looked at her like she'd lost her mind. "What are you doing?" Marcus demanded. Maya didn't answer. She pulled up the audio file of the creature's thrums, isolated the pattern and played it back through the speakers. The effect was instantaneous. The creature froze mid-pace. Its eyes went wide. Then it made the sound again, louder, more deliberately. Maya played the pattern back. The creature responded with a variation. "It's talking to you," Marcus breathed. "No," Maya said, tears streaming down her face. "It's talking to itself. And for the first time since it was captured, it's not alone." 6 months after the first revelation, the world had changed in big and small ways. Dr. Torres was in Washington, D.C. at the new Institute for Cosmic Heritage, where he was watching news from all over the world. The first panic had passed, and in its place was something unexpected: hope. "Michael, you need to see this," Maria said from her office, her voice full of excitement. He saw that she was surrounded by brain scans, genetic charts, and what looked like performance data. "We began to test people. Once thousands of volunteers around the world learned what we had found, they wanted to know more about their own genetic vaults." She brought up charts that showed the differences. "Take a look at this. We're seeing activation. People who have learned about their cosmic heritage, accepted it, and begun to actively try to tap into those dormant abilities are seeing changes in their brain activity. Neural pathways that weren't working are now lighting up." Yuki ran in with a tablet in hand. "It's not just activity in the brain. We're keeping track of real improvements in ability. The average time it takes to solve a problem goes down by 23%. The ability to recognize patterns got 31% better. Tests of creative thinking that show big jumps. It's like knowing about the vault makes it easier for people to get to it." Lisa came to the door out of breath. "And it's not just mental. I just got off the phone with Dr. Hammond at Johns Hopkins. They are seeing cases of spontaneous healing that they can't explain with medicine. Cancer patients getting better faster than they should. Immune responses to rare diseases that shouldn't work but do. The genetic sequences you found that code for pathogens that don't live on Earth are activating, but not because of disease. They're turning on because of belief and understanding." Michael felt cold. The vault isn't just a place to store things. It reacts. It responds to awareness and consciousness. James Cooper came from Oxford with even more shocking information. "Michael, we need to talk about the collective mind. I've been working with quantum physicists and they found something amazing. When people think about the same thing at the same time, like during the global meditation events that happened after your announcement, their brain waves sync up. Not just in a figurative sense. In a literal sense. Patterns of quantum entanglement that shouldn't be possible." He brought up information from the most recent Global Awareness Hour, when millions of people all over the world meditated at the same time on the cosmic connection between all people. During that hour, we measured changes in the quantum field that fit with what theory says about how consciousness shapes reality. The vault isn't just in our DNA, Michael. It's linked to the most basic forces in the universe. Dr. Catherine Rodriguez called from Egypt using a video link. "Michael, we found more texts and they say something very important. The old instructions don't just talk about changing genes, they also talk about how to turn them on. Meditation, creative expression, acts of kindness, and moments of awe and wonder are not just nice things that people do. They are the keys to unlocking our full potential." Michael sat down slowly, and the consequences of what had happened flooded his mind. "They didn't just give us advanced genetics. They gave us a whole system. DNA contains information about physical abilities, neural structures are made to grow, and activation protocols are hidden in plain sight as art, spirituality, and philosophy." Maria nodded and pulled up some old data. "Use this lens to look at human history. Every big step forward in civilization has come after times when people were brought together by art, spiritual awakening, or collective trauma. The Renaissance, the Enlightenment, and the technological boom after World War II were all times when people reached something deeper. Because," Lisa said, her understanding growing, "those moments opened up more of the vault. Crisis, beauty, love, and wonder are more than just feelings. These are biological activation codes." Dr. Okoye came to them from Nigeria, where he had been working with traditional healers. "The shamans and medicine people have been telling us this for a long time. They talk about awakening the star seed within, and ceremonies and rituals that link people to cosmic forces. We thought it was just a superstition. It wasn't. Their way of understanding how to activate the vault." Michael pulled up a world map that showed reported activations, which are cases of improved abilities, faster healing, new insights, and deep connections. They made patterns and groups around places with a lot of people, schools, and places that were important for art and culture. "We're not just people with this genetic heritage," he said softly. We're all connected. When one person activates, it makes it easier for people nearby to do the same. It's spreading like waking up from a dream. Sarah Mitchell showed up on another video screen from Australia. And it makes perfect sense from an engineering point of view. You wouldn't just drop intelligence randomly if you wanted to spread it across the galaxy. You'd make a system that could live, change, and eventually reach critical mass, which is the point at which everyone wakes up at the same time. Are we getting close to that tipping point? James asked, but his face showed that he already knew the answer. Michael opened the statistical models they had been using. Yes, at the current rates of activation, awareness, and spreading of this knowledge, we could see a global awakening in 2 generations or less. Not magical or supernatural, just the full expression of our genetic potential that has been waiting for the right time. And what happens next? Maria said something in a soft voice. Catherine answered from Egypt, her voice full of wonder. When enough people wake up, when the seeds remember the stars, a signal is sent, according to the old texts. Not a radio signal, but something that moves through the quantum field itself. A message from space. This species is ready. The room was quiet. Ready for what? Yuki wanted to know. Michael said quietly, for contact. For getting back together. The old writings from every culture say the same thing. The sky people will come back when people are ready. We will only be able to do it when we remember who we are, not when we have the right technology. Dr. Okoye nodded slowly. In African culture there is a saying that goes, a child who knows their ancestry has the strength to face any storm. They put this information in our cells because they thought that once we understood it, we would be strong enough and confident enough to join the galactic community. Lisa pulled up pictures of what people have done since the announcement. Countries that had been enemies working together on projects, huge progress in fighting climate change, medical and scientific breakthroughs, and, most impressively, a huge drop in violence around the world. Look at this, she said. Crime rates are down 17% around the world. Disputes between countries are being settled through conversation. The amount of money available for space exploration went up by 300%. It's like knowing we're part of something bigger has made us better, nicer, and more focused on what's important. Maria said, because the vault doesn't just hold intelligence. It has compassion, the ability to work together, and the ability to see ourselves as one species instead of as separate tribes. They made us able to work together. Michael stood up and walked to the window that looked out over the city. People went about their lives outside, but everything had changed. Schools were teaching kids about their cosmic heritage. Artists made things that showed where people fit into the universe. Scientists from all over the world worked together without competition, motivated by a common goal. I used to think that the best thing they gave us was intelligence, he said softly. But I was wrong. The best gift was resilience, or the ability to face any problem and solve it. They put us to the test by leaving us alone and making us grow on our own. We showed that we deserved this inheritance by ending wars, curing diseases, making discoveries, and being kind in the face of cruelty. James came to the window with him. Plus creativity. Look at what we've done with only a small part of our potential active. We split the atom, mapped the genome, and sent probes outside of our solar system, all while hardly being able to get to the vault. Think about what we'll do when we're all set to go. We don't have to imagine, Yuki said as she pulled up projections based on the current activation rates. At full activation, human cognitive abilities grow at an exponential rate. We're trying to solve problems that seem impossible right now, like traveling faster than light, getting unlimited clean energy, and understanding and controlling consciousness. But it's not just about skills, Dr. Okoye said firmly. The vault gave us a reason to live. People have always wondered, why are we here? What does life mean? We know now. We're here to learn, grow, and become worthy of our cosmic family. That's not just knowing, that's being at peace. That's the end of existential despair. Catherine's voice came through the speakers, and it was full of emotion. Every ancient culture says that humans are made in the image of the divine and that we hold the spark of creation inside us. They were right. They were thinking back. The beings from space who changed us weren't gods. They were family. And they made us look like them so that we could be equal to them one day. Michael turned to his team and saw in their faces what he felt in his heart. A mix of deep gratitude and strong determination. He said, our job now is to help people get going. Not by force or manipulation, but by understanding, teaching, and inspiring. We help people connect with their cosmic roots, and nature takes care of the rest. Maria nodded. The vault opens from the inside. We just tell people where the key is. And the key, Lisa said with a smile, is to remember. Thinking about the fact that we're not just evolved apes living on a random planet. We're citizens of the universe stuck on Earth for now but meant to go to the stars. We are strong because we have the strength of galactic civilizations. We're smart because figuring things out is part of who we are. Because we are all one, we are kind. Dr. Okoye said an African proverb, "If you want to go fast, go alone. To go far, go together." They made us social, connected, and willing to work together because you shouldn't explore the universe by yourself. Michael looked at the purple markers on his screen that had started this whole thing. They were the genetic sequences. They weren't strange. They weren't errors or tainting. They were gifts, wrapped in code, and they were billions of base pairs deep, waiting for the right time to be understood. Our strength goes far beyond our home world, he said quietly. It was never meant to be limited to one world. The cosmos is inside every person. Every child that is born has a lot of potential. Every act of kindness, every moment of wonder, and every creative spark are all ways that we show our true selves. So, what do we tell the world? James asked. Michael smiled because he felt like this journey was finally coming to an end. We tell them the truth. You are more than you think. The star's legacy lives on in you. Your strength isn't a coincidence, it's in your genes. It's not luck that makes you smart, it's design. Your kindness is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of strength. You are exactly what the universe wanted. A mind that can understand itself, love itself, and reach out to connect with everything. And, Maria said softly, you're not alone. You have never been alone. Your cells, your myths, your art, and your dreams all show the truth. You are cosmic kids who have finally grown up. The team worked on their next presentation as night fell over Washington. It wasn't just data and evidence, it was also inspiration and action. They would show people not only where they came from, but also what they could become. The vault was opening one person at a time, every second. And maybe those who planted these seeds so long ago were watching and waiting in the space between stars, proud of their cosmic children who had finally learned to remember. Dr. Torres stood at the newly built International Cosmic Heritage Center in Geneva, exactly where the first genetic anomalies were found, 1 year after the first announcement. The building was meant to inspire, and its design was inspired by the double helix of DNA and the spiral arms of galaxies. Tonight was special because it was the first global unity assembly, which was shown live to every country on Earth. 10,000 people from all over the world with different cultures and backgrounds sat together in the huge auditorium. Billions of people watched the live stream from outside. The air was buzzing with excitement, not fear like it might have been a year ago. People had spent a year learning, growing, and starting to figure out who they were in the universe. Michael looked out at the crowd and saw people of all ages, races, and cultures. He thought this was what they had planned. Not one race or culture, but a beautiful mix of people with a common past and a common future. 1 year ago, he said, his voice echoing through the hall, we told you something that changed everything. You are not what you thought you were. But I want to change that tonight. You are who you've always been, you just finally get it. The screen behind him lit up with pictures from the past year. There were kids from different countries working together on space projects, former enemies working together on research, artistic expressions of cosmic unity from all over the world, and most importantly, the faces of regular people who had begun to tap into their genetic potential. Michael said, "Meet Catherine Wright," and a middle-aged woman came on screen. A schoolteacher from Ohio had an amazing experience after hearing about the vault. "Catherine, tell them what happened." Catherine's warm face filled the screens, and her voice was steady but full of feeling. "I taught math for 20 years and it was always hard to make it easy for students to understand. But something changed in me after the announcement. I began to see patterns that I had never seen before, like how music, math, nature, and consciousness are all connected. I now teach math using music, art, and meditation. Not only are my students learning formulas, but they're also learning how math works in the real world. And they're doing well. Now that they really understand, test scores don't matter anymore." Maria Santos, who joined Michael on stage, said, "Catherine is one of millions. We're keeping track of cases of what we call spontaneous optimization, all over the world. People aren't becoming superhuman, they're becoming fully human. There was always a chance. Now they're able to get to it." Dr. Yuki Tanaka talked about data from Japan. "We're seeing amazing results in education systems that have added cosmic heritage understanding to their curricula. Not only in math and science, but also in emotional intelligence, problem solving, and creative thinking. Kids who know they're part of a cosmic family act differently around each other. In these schools, bullying has gone down by 60%. Cooperation has gone up by 80%. Chen showed medical information. Healthcare has changed. People who follow activation protocols like meditation, art, and intentional kindness heal faster, need less medicine, and say their quality of life is better. There is a genetic link between the mind and the body. The vault has healing mechanisms that work when you are aware of them. Dr. James Cooper talked about research on how people come up with new ideas. Check out the patent applications that have been filed in the last year. We're seeing new ideas in clean energy, faster-than-light propulsion, consciousness-based computing, and restoring ecosystems. These aren't coming from elite labs, they're coming from people all over the world who have been activated and are using that huge genetic potential. Carlos, a young man from Argentina, stood up to tell his story. I worked in a factory and didn't go to college. After I learned about the vault, I started to think about the problems I saw, like pollution, waste in manufacturing, and inefficiency. Ideas began to come to mind. I have now filed 3 patents for production systems that don't waste anything, and big companies are using them. I didn't get smarter, I just remembered how to think the way I was meant to. Dr. Okoye told stories from Africa. We're seeing a renaissance in communities that honor their earth traditions while also embracing their cosmic heritage. Ancient knowledge and new possibilities are coming together to solve problems that have been bothering us for generations. Water purification systems based on both tribal knowledge and genetic memory. Farming methods that feed people and repair the land. This is what they wanted, not to replace our cultures but to make them better. Catherine Rodriguez showed off archaeological finds. This year we found more proof than we did in the last century. It seems like the Earth is telling us its secrets now that we're ready to hear them. Structures, artifacts, and texts all point to the same truth. Our cosmic family has guided, prepared, and loved us so that we could succeed. Michael let the testimonials go on, and he saw the faces of the people in the audience change from interest to recognition to determination. This was the turning point that Catherine had talked about. When enough people understood and accepted their heritage, things would be very different. Michael brought the focus back by saying, but understanding where we come from raises the most important question. Where are we going? The screen changed to show pictures of space like Earth's orbit, the Moon, Mars, and more. For the first time in history, we have brought together space programs. Every country has put money into exploring space. Not as a fight or a conquest, but as the next step in our natural progression. We're going home. Dr. Sarah Mitchell talked about the new projects. The Homeward Project, a plan to send people to the stars over the next 100 years. Not only going to space but also living there. We're making ships with technologies that seemed impossible a year ago, but now that people with activated minds are designing them, they make perfect sense. Ships that use navigation that makes you more aware, Yuki said. Quantum entanglement-based propulsion systems. Life support that works with human DNA, not against it. We just had to remember how to read the code that was already in the vault. A video message came from the International Space Station, where astronauts from 12 different countries worked together. We can see Earth from up here, the mission commander said, her voice full of emotion. The borders disappear. The fight seems silly. We are one species living on one beautiful planet, and we are just beginning to move toward our cosmic destiny. Everyone up here has felt the activation. Something in our DNA reacts when we are this close to space. We feel like we have to move forward. Michael nodded. That call forward, that pull toward the stars, isn't something you learn. It's memory that runs in the family. We aren't taking over space, we're going back to it. We won't go as divided nations or competing interests when we do. Together we'll go as humanity, unified, activated, and ready. Maria said, but space exploration isn't the only frontier. We're also looking into consciousness itself, which is like inner space. The vault holds not only physical abilities but also knowledge of the non-physical aspects of reality. Meditation is more than just relaxing. It's a way to explore your mind. Prayer isn't just wishing, it's interacting with the quantum field. Dr. Okoye spoke with a lot of feeling. We now know that what our ancestors called magic was actually advanced science. We think of family as what they called gods. We're learning how to make real what they said was impossible. Science and spirituality were never separate, we just forgot how to see them as one. The veil between them is lifting. The screen showed projects from around the world like the Global Compassion Network, which connects people who want to help with crisis areas. The Cosmic Arts Collective, which makes works that inspire people to get involved. The Unity Science Consortium, which solves problems through shared consciousness. And the Children of Stars Education System, which teaches kids about their cosmic heritage from birth. Lisa said, in our research we found that children who know about the vault grow up faster, think more broadly, and show amazing emotional maturity. Not because they're special, but because they don't let old ideas about what people can do hold them back. They know who they are and naturally become that. Kenya sent a 10-year-old girl named Amara to the screen. My teacher asked me what I want to do when I grow up. I said I want to be what I am now, a cosmic explorer. I want to help people remember and get to the stars. We are not small. We aren't limited. We are infinite in physical form, and it's time we acted like it. The crowd cheered and many of them cried. Michael let the moment breathe, feeling the energy of everyone waking up. So this is what we suggest, he said at last. Not a law, not a mandate, but an invitation. We set up rules for global activation over the next 10 years. Schools around the world teach cosmic heritage along with math and English. Medical systems combine activation practices with standard treatments. Governance systems function based on collective consciousness instead of rivalry. James went on to say, and most importantly, we get ready for contact. The old texts say they will come back when we are ready. We think that being ready isn't just about having the right technology, it's also about being aware. When enough people are activated and we all work together as one species while respecting our differences, the signal will go through quantum fields. Earth's children are ready to meet their cosmic family. Someone in the crowd shouted, "How will we know when we're ready?" Dr. Okoye smiled. "You will feel it." Every activated person talks about the same feeling. A moment when everything falls into place, when fear goes away, and when you realize you're exactly where you should be and doing what you should be doing. We're ready when most of the world feels that way. Well, what if they don't come? Asked another voice. What if we fully activate and get no response? Michael thought about the question very carefully. Then we've still won. We become the cosmic civilization we're meant to be when we are fully activated. We fix our problems like disease, climate change, poverty, and war. As one people, we move into space. We make art that shows how beautiful consciousness is. We create a society based on love, working together, and limitless possibilities. Even if they never come back, we still become what they wanted. A species worthy of the universe. Catherine said via video from Egypt. But we think they will come. Every activation sends waves through the quantum field. They're not just watching us from afar, they're connected to us through the genes they gave us. They know we're waking up because we're waking up inside of them. The screen showed a simulation of humanity's activation spreading across the world like light breaking through darkness. It reached a critical mass, and then a pulse of energy spread out from Earth into space, moving faster than light through quantum entanglement. Sarah said, "This is just a theory, but based on what we know about the vault's quantum properties, when enough people activate, the collective consciousness creates a field signature that any advanced civilization would be able to recognize." "A cosmic beacon," Yuki said softly, saying, "We remember. We get it. We're ready to join you." Michael looked out at the crowd and saw hope and determination on every face. So we know what our mission is for the next few years. We help each other get going. We share what we know, what we do, and what we've been through. We make systems that help people wake up instead of keeping them down. From the time they are born, we teach our kids about their cosmic nature. We create a civilization that shows who we really are. And we wait, Maria said, with excitement and patience for the time when our cosmic family will answer. Not as saviors coming to save us, but as family welcoming us home after a long necessary journey of growth. There was a moment of silence at the end of the assembly, but it wasn't just silence. In that quiet moment, 10,000 people thought about the same thing. Thank you for life, for the potential we all have, and for the chance to become who we are meant to be. We're ready to get up. Billions of people around the world joined in the intention. And at that moment, research tools picked up something never seen before. A coordinated quantum field fluctuation that spanned the whole world, was perfectly in sync and pulsed with purpose and awareness. Scientists and labs rushed to document the event. People who practiced meditation felt the change in centers. In their homes, regular people had a moment of perfect clarity. Something had taken place. Consciousness itself had spoken in a single voice. Dr. Torres stood with his team and watched the data come in, knowing this was only the start. The vault was opening all over the world, one person at a time, every second. Someone had heard the call forward and answered it. People were waking up. And somewhere, in the vast space between stars, maybe long-lost family felt the pulse and smiled, getting ready for the reunion that had been planned from the start, the moment when Earth's children would finally remember their cosmic home. 3 years after the first revelation, the world had changed in both big and small ways. Dr. Torres walked around Geneva and was amazed by how much had changed. Buildings now used architectural ideas based on cosmic geometry that were found through genetic memories. Gardens grew plants in ways that made people more active. The air even felt different, cleaner, because people had quickly developed and put into use zero-emission technologies that came from activated minds. But the biggest changes weren't visible to the eye. Maria Santos kept an eye on global activation rates from inside the Cosmic Heritage Center. Michael, checked this out. A three-dimensional map of Earth was on her screen, and bright dots of light showed where people were activated. We've activated 34% of the world. That's 2.7 billion people who have consciously tapped into their genetic potential. And the acceleration is getting faster, Lisa said, pointing to the projection curves. At this rate, we'll reach 50% in a year and a half. That is the point that the old texts talked about, the point at which collective consciousness takes over. Dr. Cooper rushed in, his face red with excitement. We have confirmations from 12 different quantum research centers. The quantum field that surrounds Earth is changing. They're finding patterns and structures that shouldn't exist in nature. It's like consciousness is changing the world around it. Yuki got information from particle accelerators all over the world. And it's not only quantum fields. We're seeing small changes in important constants like the gravitational constant, the fine structure constant, and electromagnetic coupling. There are small changes, but they are all going in the same direction. Toward values that would make it easier to travel faster than light and convert matter into energy more efficiently. Wait, Michael said as he sat down slowly. Are you saying that the universe itself is reacting to what we did? Or, Sarah said, pulling up theoretical models, the vault doesn't just change us. It changes the way we deal with reality. These constants aren't changing all over the place. They're only changing in the space around Earth, and more specifically in areas with a lot of activity. It seems like activated consciousness makes fields that make physics that was impossible before possible. Dr. Okoye joined the meeting by video from Nigeria, where he had been working with tribal councils. This is what the elders have been saying for a long time. They talk about reality as a dream that can be changed by focused consciousness. We thought it was a metaphor. It isn't. We're just starting to understand physics. Michael's phone buzzed with an alert. It was a priority message from the International Space Collaboration. He turned on the speaker. Dr. Torres, I'm Commander Melissa Park from the ISS. We need you to look at something. The screen changed to show a view from the space station, with Earth spinning below in a beautiful blue color. But there was more. There were faint flashes of light all over the world, like auroras but in a different pattern, pulsing in time. Commander Park said, we started seeing this 3 days ago. It's not electromagnetic. It doesn't show up on normal sensors. But every crew member who is on duty can see it. We call it the resonance field because it shows how the Earth's collective consciousness works. Catherine Rodriguez called from Cairo, out of breath. Michael, we found something. Do you remember the sealed room below the Sphinx that we could never get into? It opened. On its own. This morning. We found something inside that was very special. The video feed changed to show Catherine standing in an old room with walls covered in detailed carvings that seemed to glow with a soft light. These aren't hieroglyphs from Egypt, cuneiform from Sumer, or any other language we know. But when I looked at them, she stopped for a moment, feeling sad. I could read them. Not with my eyes, but with something deeper. Michael, these are instructions. Activation protocols that were much more advanced than anything we had found. It was like the room was waiting for us to be ready to understand. And it's not just Cairo, she said next. We're hearing from sites all over the world that sealed chambers are opening, artifacts are turning on, and ancient technology that had been dormant is suddenly working. They're all responding to the activation. Göbekli Tepe, Machu Picchu, Angkor Wat, and Easter Island. Michael felt a chill. The planet itself is waking up. Or maybe the systems left behind by our cosmic ancestors are picking up on the activation threshold and responding. Dr. Santos looked up medical records. And check this out. The rates of spontaneous healing have gone up by 300%. Many diseases that were thought to be fatal are now going into remission. The genetic sequences that code for immune responses that aren't from Earth are fully active. People's cells are literally changing in their bodies. A live feed came from a hospital in Mumbai, where Dr. Priya Sharma said, we had a patient with stage 4 cancer that was very advanced. The prognosis was weeks. She started doing a lot of meditation, cosmic connection exercises, and consciousness work to get her energy going. 3 weeks later, scans show no signs of cancer. Not remission. Full cellular regeneration. This isn't just one thing. We're keeping records of hundreds of cases like this. Because, Lisa said softly, Healing was part of the plan. The vault has instructions for the best human biology, not just intelligence but also physical strength, longevity, and regeneration. We're not changing, we're becoming whole. Yuki showed information from research on aging. We're seeing signs of biological age reversal in people who are very active. Longer telomeres, fewer old cells, and better organ function. Not immortality but a long life, maybe up to 150 or 200 years. And this doesn't involve any medical help. It's unlocking its genetic potential on its own. James asked, why? Why would they design us to live so long? Michael realized that because cosmic exploration needs it. We need to live longer if we're going to travel to other stars, even with advanced technology. They got us ready for the trip home. A new transmission came in. This one was from the Lunar Gateway Station, which is being built in orbit around the moon. Ramon Delgado, the chief engineer, is here to see you, Dr. Torres. We have come across something that is impossible. The titanium alloys we're using to build are working better than they should be. More flexible, stronger, and better at blocking radiation. We put them to the test against things on Earth. Same makeup but different qualities. Being in space, closer to the cosmic background, seems to bring out the best in them. Or, Sarah said, making and handling them by activated workers gives them some quality. Interaction between matter and consciousness. We thought about it but this proves it. Dr. Okoye shared stories from villages implementing activation practices. People are saying that their perception has gotten better, they can see auras, feel emotions, and even have limited precognition. Nothing strange is happening. It's just that senses that were dormant are now working. People who lived before us called these people shamans or seers. They were just using features that were already programmed in the vault. And kids, Maria said with excitement. Children born to parents who are active are showing amazing abilities from the moment they are born. Improved learning speed, an innate ability to understand difficult ideas, deep empathy, and something we call cosmic recall, which are bits of memories of things they couldn't possibly know unless those memories are passed down through genes. A 12-year-old boy from Australia named Ethan came on screen. It's hard to explain, he said with a serious look on his young face. Sometimes I think of things that aren't my memories. Being in space, seeing planets I've never been to, and being able to talk to people in languages that no one on Earth speaks. Dr. Santos says that these are memories that were passed down to us through our genes. It doesn't feel weird. Feels like being home. Michael saw the data, the testimonials, and the changes, and he felt the weight of what was going on. We're not just activating as people. We're waking up as a species. When someone unlocks their potential, it makes things easier for everyone else. It's getting worse and worse. And we're getting close to critical mass, Commander Park said from the ISS. We can see it from up here. The resonance field is getting brighter and more organized. It's scary and beautiful at the same time. Whatever happens when we reach 50% activation, it's going to be big. Catherine got the old books out of the room under the Sphinx. Based on these instructions, which I'm trying to translate as best I can, the homeward beacon starts when the activation level reaches 50%. A signal that travels through quantum entanglement across the galaxy to say that a seeded species has grown up. Yuki said with a nervous laugh, a dinner bell. We're telling our cosmic family that we're ready to meet them. The room was quiet. This was it, the moment they had been waiting for. But the truth of it, how big it was, hit them like gravity. Are we ready? Lisa said in a low voice. Are you really ready? What if they come and we're not what they wanted? What if we messed up? Dr. Okoye spoke with confidence. We didn't fail. Check out what we've done in just 3 years. Most of the wars are over. We're fixing climate change. We're making people live longer. We're creating a society where people work together instead of against each other. As one species, we're looking into space. We're becoming what they wanted us to be, not perfect but always growing, learning, and reaching for our potential. And we're doing it with love, Michael said. Our ability to care for others, to choose growth over stagnation, and to choose unity over division is what makes us human, not our intelligence or technology. If they decide to judge us, they'll do so based on that. And by that standard, we've shown that we are worthy. Maria turned on a live feed from Times Square in New York City, where thousands of people had gathered for the global activation meditation, which had become a daily event. People from different languages, cultures, and backgrounds all had the same goal: to wake up, come together, and move forward. Similar scenes played out in Tokyo, London, Sao Paulo, Mumbai, and Cairo, where millions of people connected with their cosmic nature, unlocked their genetic potential, and changed the world. 18 months, Dr. Cooper said in a low voice. We reached the limit in 18 months. And then, everything is different. It's already changing, Michael said as he watched the resonance field pulse around Earth. Activated humans glow with potential, ancient sites wake up, and reality itself bend to make room for humanity's change. We're not going to wait for things to change. We are making it happen, one moment and one person at a time. Sarah said clearly, the question isn't if we're ready. Are they ready for us? Because we're not a primitive species begging for help. We are their children, growing up and carrying on their legacy. We're bringing something special, the diversity of Earth, our art, music, stories, and ability to feel both joy and sadness. We're not joining them because we think they're better than us. We're joining them as family. The transmission from Commander Park came through again. Dr. Torres, the resonance field just got a lot brighter. Sounds like Earth is singing. That's the only way I can put it. The world is happy. Michael smiled, and he felt it too, a sense of rightness as if his destiny was unfolding exactly as it should. The vault was more than just a way to unlock human potential. It was unlocking the Earth's potential and getting the whole planet ready for its cosmic emergence. So we go on, he said firmly. We help everyone who wants to activate. We build the infrastructure for a civilization that can do everything it needs to do. We get ready for first contact with excitement, not fear. We are neither the conquered nor the saved. We're awake. And we do it with thanks, Dr. Okoye said. Thankful for life, for the possibilities inside us, and for the cosmic family who loved us enough to plant these seeds and trust us to grow. Michael stood by the window at the end of the meeting, looking out at a world that had changed and was still changing. If the calculations were right, in 18 months, people would reach the activation threshold and send their message across the galaxy. We remember. We get it. We're going home. But the real miracle didn't happen in that future moment. It was happening right now, with billions of people waking up to who they really were, using skills they had always had, and choosing to be their best selves at every moment. The change had started. And things would never be the same again. Dr. Torres stood in the newly finished Cosmic Communications Center in Hawaii 15 months later. It was built on sacred ground with the permission of native elders. The facility was full of equipment that combined cutting-edge quantum technology with designs based on genetic memories, as if the vault itself was giving people the plans they would need. Maria said, "We're at 47.3% global activation, while keeping an eye on real-time data coming in from sensors all over the world. The speed is amazing. We're getting close to 1% every week now." Dr. Chen opened a global view. The points of light that represented people who had been activated had grown from random sparks to huge networks of light, with only a few dark spots left. The cascade effect is just what we thought it would be. Each person who is activated makes a field that makes it easier for people nearby to be activated. We're getting close to exponential growth. The expanded Lunar Gateway Station showed Commander Park's face on the main screen. The view from here is amazing. Even crew members who aren't activated can now see the resonance field around Earth. It looks like the planet is wrapped in flowing light that is getting more and more coherent. At 50%, something is happening and it's getting bigger. Dr. Cooper talked about information from quantum research centers. The changes in the spacetime around Earth are speeding up. We're keeping track of changes in fundamental constants that we can control. Some activated physicists are already using these changes to make propulsion systems that shouldn't be possible and power generation that goes against what we thought we knew about thermodynamics. Because, Yuki said with excitement, the vault doesn't just unlock human potential. It helps us understand how consciousness and the laws of physics work together. When we're fully activated, we'll be able to change reality with focused intention. Not magic, but advanced physics that we're just starting to understand. Catherine Rodriguez in Egypt sent a message saying that she had put together an international team of archaeologists to work in the newly opened chamber under the Sphinx. Michael, you have to see this. We have finished translating the activation protocols. There is a specific order of steps that people must follow as we get closer to the threshold. The glowing letters were on her screen. First, we get 50% activation, which starts the homeward beacon. But there's more to it. The beacon doesn't just let our cosmic family know. It opens what they call the stellar gate, which is a quantum path through spacetime that lets people travel quickly between stars. Wait, Michael said, you're saying that at 50% activation we don't just send a signal. Do we make a bridge? Catherine said, yes, a two-way bridge. The texts are clear. When the kids remember, the way home opens. Distance disappears when consciousness comes together. They didn't just plant us here and leave. They left behind quantum gates hidden all over the galaxy, waiting for enough consciousness to turn them on. Dr. Okoye, who had been working with a group of spiritual leaders from different traditions in Nigeria, added context. The older people have been getting ready for this. Their prophecies say that the sky road will open up, and people will be able to walk between worlds as easily as they can walk between villages. For generations they have been the keepers of this knowledge. Sarah showed engineering drawings that had come from minds that were turned on. We're already building the receiving stations, which are buildings that can connect to these quantum gates. It's technology that is much better than what we had 5 years ago, but activated engineers are designing them in a way that feels like they are remembering rather than inventing. From the construction site in Kenya, a young engineer named Kwame appeared on screen. It feels less like building something new and more like finding something that was always there. Once you see the designs, they make total sense. The materials we're using also have quantum properties that react to consciousness. It's like matter itself is excited to be a part of this. Michael understood how big it all was. So, in about 8 weeks, when we reach 50% activation, we won't just send a message. We open a door. And, Lisa said nervously, whatever's on the other side can come through. We think it's our cosmic family that is welcoming us. But what if we're wrong? What if the beacon draws in something else? Dr. Santos got information from the global meditation networks. That's why the protocol stressed the importance of unity consciousness. The beacon and gate don't just respond to the percentage of activation, they also respond to coherence and a unified intention. The gate won't fully open if half of humanity is still divided, scared, or aggressive. It's a safety feature. A test, Dr. Okoye said in a soft voice. Not of our intelligence or technology, but of our maturity. Can we come together as one species and still respect our differences? Can we reach out to others with love instead of fear? That's what tells us if we're ready. Maria showed real-time data from the Global Unity Network, a system that measured how well people were working together. Check this out. 3 years ago, global coherence was a mess, billions of separate consciousness fields barely connected. Now, the screen showed huge patterns that were all connected like neurons in a brain pulsing together. We're becoming one field, connecting it to something bigger without losing your own. There was excitement in Commander Park's voice. And it's having an effect on everything. Rates of crime are at their lowest levels ever. People are talking to each other to settle international disputes. Sharing resources between countries is at levels we never thought possible. Activated humans work together naturally because they see themselves as part of one organism. Dr. Tanaka talked about education data. Kids in activation-integrated schools are doing better than anyone else in every way, not just in terms of intelligence, but also in terms of emotional maturity, moral reasoning, and creative problem-solving. And they are teaching their parents. Youth activation is getting families involved, which is speeding up community activation. A video feed came in from São Paulo, Brazil, where thousands of families took part in community activation ceremonies that included meditation, music, dance, and setting a group intention. In Seoul, Lagos, Istanbul, and Vancouver, similar scenes played out. A global wave of awakening shone through the unique traditions of each culture. Michael said, "This is what they hoped for," as he watched people change. Unity in diversity, not homogenization. We keep our languages, cultures, and traditions, but we also know that there is a cosmic consciousness that connects us all. Dr. Cooper brought up some old data. Looking back, every big step forward for humanity has happened when people came together, like the end of World War II, the fall of the Berlin Wall, the first Earth Day, and the response to global crises. Short times when all of humanity acted as one. A message came from the International Council of Religious and Spiritual Leaders, who were meeting in Geneva. Now we're keeping that unity and making it last. The group was represented by Elder Miriam Chen. We come from many different faiths, and we've all agreed that what science calls activation is what we've called enlightenment, salvation, awakening, and union with the divine. The words we use are different, but we're talking about the same thing. Consciousness becoming aware of its cosmic nature. And, Imam Hassan al-Rashid said, our texts talk about a time when heaven and earth come together, when the divine and human come together. We think that the threshold moment is what our ancestors saw in their visions. It's not an end, but a change into what people were always meant to be. Rabbi David Cohen went on, we're not giving up our religions. We're getting to know them better. The cosmic family that gave us life. Maybe that's what we've called angels, devas, or enlightened beings. The vault inside us. Maybe that's what we've called the divine spark, the Buddha nature, or the image of God. Michael was moved by how science and spirituality came together. You mean the divide was fake? Our ancestors knew about both the spiritual and physical parts of this cosmic heritage. We put them into two groups, religion and science. We're bringing them back together now. Exactly, Elder Chen said in agreement. And this reunion is very important for the threshold. We need to use both our scientific knowledge and our spiritual wisdom, as well as our rational mind and our intuitive heart. Maria showed the countdown timer that had become a worldwide obsession. 52 days until the planned 50% activation. So what happens when we reach the limit? Let's be clear. What do we expect based on all the old texts, genetic memories, and other information we have? Catherine talked about the translations of the Sphinx chamber. These instructions say that a number of things happen at the same time. First, the homeward beacon turns on. This is a quantum signal that travels instantly through entangled particles to specific receiver stations in different star systems. Second, the stellar gate network turns on, and structures that were once invisible become active, making paths through spacetime that can be traveled. Third, Earth's biosphere goes through what they call cosmic integration, which means that the planet itself understands its role in the galactic ecosystem. And fourth, she said, stopping to collect herself, first contact protocols begin. The person who set up these systems left instructions for both sides. Guidance for humans who are about to cross over and for the cosmic family who will greet us. Yes, they are definitely out there, Lisa said in a low voice. Waiting for our signal. They've always been there, Dr. Okoye said with confidence. They gave us genetics that connect us, the quantum field, and even our own consciousness. They've always been there, we just haven't been able to see them until now. Yuki got some astronomical data. And we can see something. Radio telescopes are picking up patterns, not random cosmic noise. These signals are coming from many different places, and we can't yet figure out what they mean. It seems like they're responding to us as we become more active. Sarah showed the signals, which were complicated math patterns hidden in radio waves coming from Sirius, Arcturus, Pleiades, and other stars that are mentioned in old texts. These aren't real. They are messages. And they started showing up about 6 months ago when we reached 40% activation. As we get closer to the threshold, they're getting stronger. What's going on? Someone asked. We don't know yet, Sarah said. But activated linguists are on the job. They say it feels like remembering a language instead of learning a new one. It seems that the vault has language templates that help people understand cosmic communication. Michael stood and walked around, his energy barely contained. 8 weeks. Everything will be different in 8 weeks. We'll send our message across the galaxy. We'll open doors to stars far away. We will meet the person who has been waiting for us first. Are we ready? Everyone in the room stopped talking. Ready? Commander Park's voice came from the moon. Michael, we've built a base on the moon, cured diseases that were thought to be incurable, ended most of the world's wars, started to reverse climate change, and are using physics we learned through genetic memory to design starships. What else is ready if that isn't? Maria said, she's right. We've shown that we're good not by being perfect, but by getting better. We've shown that we can learn, change, grow, and most importantly, come together. That's what they were looking for. Dr. Okoye smiled. And we don't fear the threshold, we welcome it with joy. Not as beggars asking to be accepted, but as children growing up and ready to join the cosmic family. We give gifts like our art, music, unique human experiences, and beautiful differences. We are not joining an empire. We're becoming part of a community. Michael looked at the faces on the screens. They were his team, the global network of activated people, children with eyes full of cosmic memories, elders who had kept ancient wisdom alive, scientists and spiritualists working together for a common goal. Then let's make the most of these next 8 weeks. Let's help everyone who wants to get active. Let's put in place the things we need to make first contact. And let's get people ready for the most important moment in history, not just with technology but also with their hearts and minds. The moment, Lisa said softly, when we finally get to go home. The Hawaiian sunset outside made the sky look brighter than before, as if reality itself was becoming clearer as consciousness woke up. Stars started to show up, little points of light in the dark. Each one could be a family member waiting for Earth to send a signal. The threshold was getting closer. And people were ready to cross it. The day had come. Dr. Torres was in the Cosmic Communication Center with his team, and billions of people around the world were watching him live. That morning, the global activation level had reached 49.8% and was steadily rising. Screens showed gatherings in every major city, where people prayed, meditated, sang, and held hands in silence. We're getting close to 50%, Maria said, her voice shaking a little. At this rate, we should cross the line in about 90 minutes. There was a lot of controlled activity going on at the center. Engineers kept an eye on the quantum gate receivers. Biologists kept an eye on the collective consciousness field. Astronomers looked at the stars. It was like the moment before thunder, when the air becomes electric with potential. Everyone felt it. One screen showed Commander Park's face, which was the view from the Lunar Gateway Station. The visible resonance field pulsed like a heartbeat and Earth hung below it. She said, "It's getting worse. The field is syncing up with the lunar tidal rhythm, the Earth's magnetic field and the solar wind, as if it's connecting to everything." Dr. Cooper took Michael to the side and spoke softly. "Once we get past 50%, there's no turning back. The beacon turns on by itself because it's in our DNA. Everyone who is activated becomes a transmitter. We need to be sure that this is what we want." Michael looked at him and saw the fear behind the excitement. "James, look around. Look at what we've turned into in 3 years. We have put an end to most wars. We're making our world better. Kids are learning that they are citizens of the universe. We are creating a society based on love and unity. Would you give that up to go back to not knowing?" James smiled, but tears were in his eyes. "No. No way. I just needed to hear you say it. We can't even fully picture what comes next." Catherine Rodriguez appeared on screen from Egypt, standing in the chamber below the Sphinx. The activation protocols got brighter and brighter as time went on. "Michael, the writing is changing. It looks like new text is appearing in response to our approach to the threshold. It's giving the last instructions." She read the old words and her voice echoed through the center. "When consciousness comes together, the kids remember. The way opens up when the kids remember. The family gets back together when the path opens. Don't be afraid of the change. You're becoming who you always were. The vault doesn't open to show something new. It opens to remember something that will always be there." Dr. Okoye told us what the spiritual council had to say. "The elders say that this moment has been coming for thousands of years. This hope and prophecy have been passed down from generation to generation. We are lucky to be the ones who see it happen. But we need to be humble. We are not better than our ancestors. We are just their dreams come true." Yuki showed data from the quantum field. "The patterns of entanglement are amazing. It seems like consciousness all over the world is connecting to one big network. This doesn't take away from individuality. Instead, it connects it like neurons in a cosmic brain. And the field is reaching out into space and connecting with something out there." Sarah's equipment picked up strange readings. "We're still getting those signals from Sirius, Arcturus and the Pleiades, but they're much stronger now. And in sync. It seems like they're getting ready for something and working together. Because they know," Lisa thought. "They can tell we're getting close to the door. They've been looking forward to this." Maria looked at the activation level and saw that it was 49.91%. 10 minutes, maybe less. Everyone needs to get ready. People all over the world got ready in their own ways. Thousands of people in Tokyo sat in meditation gardens with their minds quiet and open. People danced in the streets of Rio to show how happy they were. A huge choir in London sang a piece that had been written just for this moment, with harmonies that were meant to resonate with human DNA. People of all faiths prayed together in Jerusalem. The huge screens in New York's Times Square only showed the activation counter, and millions of people watched in awe. Michael turned on the global broadcast system. His face was on every screen around the world, in homes, schools, public squares, ships at sea and space stations. "Humanity," he began, his voice steady even though he was about to cry. "In a few minutes, we will cross a threshold that our species has been moving toward for 50,000 years or more. Our cosmic family gave us genetic potential that will reach a critical point of activation. Then we will send our signal across the galaxy. We are ready." He stopped and looked into the camera, knowing that billions of people were looking back. "I want you to know what this means. This isn't aliens coming to take over or gods coming down to help us. This is our family welcoming us home. Having cosmic origins doesn't make us less human. We are more fully human now that we know what it means to be human. In the next few minutes you might see things that are hard to explain, like visions, memories that aren't yours, moments of deep connection, or maybe even fear or overwhelming joy. This is normal. This is the vault finishing opening. Have faith in the process. Believe in yourself. Believe in each other." Maria signaled, 49.97%. Michael went on, "When the beacon goes off, everyone who is activated becomes part of the signal. You don't have to do anything, your DNA knows what to do. Just be there. Be honest. Be who you are. That's all that has ever been needed." Dr. Cooper added some technical details. "We'll be keeping an eye on everything from here. The quantum gates should start working a few minutes after you cross the line. The messages from space will probably make more sense. We might get direct communication, but we're not sure. 49.98%. Commander Park's voice could be heard from the moon. From here, Earth is beautiful. The resonance field is pulsing like a star about to explode. I want everyone to know that being human and being part of this species right now is the greatest privilege there is, no matter what happens. 49.99%. The room was quiet. Billions of people around the world held their breath. Then 50%. Nothing seemed to happen for a while. After that, everything happened at once. Michael first felt it in his chest, like a frequency his cells had been waiting to hear. People on his team gasped and their eyes got bigger. The feeling spread, got stronger, and became too much to handle. It wasn't painful, but it was huge, as if his mind had suddenly grown beyond his body and connected with everyone and everything. He could feel them, Maria next to him, happy and amazed. James, his amazement and relief. Lisa, her happiness. Yuki's scientific curiosity turned into a spiritual awakening. And beyond them, Catherine in Egypt, Okoye in Nigeria, Commander Park on the moon, and more. There are billions of human minds, each one unique but connected like stars in a constellation. The screens showed it happening all over the world, people gasping, crying, laughing, and hugging. Not in pain or fear but in understanding. They were thinking back. Sarah's tools went crazy. The quantum field just, I don't know how to put it, became clear. Made sense all over the world. And the doors, she looked at the quantum gate receiver which was starting to glow from the inside. Getting ready to go. All of them at once. Yuki's voice shook. The signals from space, they're getting clearer. I get what they're saying now. It's not language, it's the transfer of direct meaning. They say. He stopped, feeling too much. Welcome home, children of Earth, they say. We've been waiting for so long. We're so proud. Michael felt tears streaming down his face as genetic memories flooded through him. These memories didn't replace his own, they added to them. He remembered, no, all of humanity remembered, being planted on this world, given the vault and getting ready for this very moment. And underneath it all was love. So much love from beings who had spent thousands of years helping humanity grow. Catherine's voice came from Egypt, and it was full of awe. The room, it's changing. The walls are showing pictures that move. They're showing us our cosmic family, Michael. There are dozens of different species, all of which are contributing to the vault and want humanity to do well. The screens in the middle showed what Catherine saw. Beings of different shapes and sizes, some human-like and some very different, but all giving off an air of intelligence, compassion, and purpose. These were not gods or rulers. They were scientists, teachers, and parents in the truest sense of the word. They had given people the gift of cosmic potential and the freedom to grow it naturally. The resonance field around Earth, which can now be seen by regular cameras, pulsed with blinding light once the homeward beacon turned on. The pulse moved outward faster than light through quantum entanglement, carrying a simple message hidden in consciousness itself. We are here. We do remember. We're all set. And in star systems that humans had seen but never talked to, the pulse came right away. It was detected by receivers that had been waiting for thousands of years, and beings beyond number turned their attention to the Sol system, to the small blue world where their seeds had finally grown. The change kept happening on Earth. The quantum gates, which are structures that are spread out all over the world in places that ancient cultures thought were sacred, were fully activated. There were shimmering portals, not doors but options, paths through spacetime that consciousness could take. We're getting answers, Sarah said, her voice breaking with emotion. Several star systems are picking up our beacon. And Michael, they're sending ships. They're not invading, they're coming to say hello. She checked the calculations, then laughed in disbelief. Time and distance worked differently through the gates. First delegations could arrive within hours. Dr. Okoye spoke through tears. Those elders were right. The sky people are coming back. Not to rule us but to welcome us as equals. The long separation is ending. Michael spoke up. Humanity, he said into the global broadcast, we've done it. We've reached the threshold. We've sent our signal. And they have answered. In the coming hours and days, we will make first contact with our cosmic family. But remember, you are not meeting your masters. You are seeing your family. We come to this reunion as equals, bringing the unique gift of human experience, human diversity, human resilience. Maria got data that showed the change was still going on. Activation is still going up. 50.3%, 50.8%, 51.2%. The threshold wasn't the end, it was the start. We're still growing and waking up. The transmission from Commander Park showed something amazing. Look, Michael. The camera moved to show space beyond the moon. Structures that had been hidden before were now visible, huge quantum gate stations that had been waiting. The infrastructure was here all along. This is something they've been getting ready for longer than people have been around. Something was coming through one of those gates. A ship, no, several ships, small at first but getting bigger quickly. Their design was both organic and mathematical, and it was clear that the people who made them knew a lot about both art and physics more than most people do. First contact in about 2 hours, Sarah said, her hands shaking as she watched them get closer. They're sending ahead what we think is a greeting protocol, instructions for the first meeting, assurances of peaceful intent, and requests for permission to approach. Permission granted, Michael said officially, but he knew that every activated human on Earth felt the same way. Please tell them, Earth welcomes its family home. As the ships got closer, the quantum gates stabilized and billions of newly awakened people tried to understand what had happened. Michael looked around at his team, his friends and family, and saw in their faces what he felt. Overwhelming gratitude, appropriate humility, and endless joy. They had done it. Humanity had crossed the line, turned on the beacon, and joined the other civilizations in the universe. Not through war or finding advanced technology but through the hardest path. Growth, unity, and choosing to be better and reach higher over and over again to remember who they really were. The vault door was open. The signal went out. The gates were open. And the cosmic family of all people was coming home. They had gone over the line. And on the other side were things that people were just starting to think about. 2 hours later, Dr. Torres was on the observation deck of the newly built First Contact facility in Geneva, watching 3 ships gracefully descend through Earth's atmosphere. They weren't falling. They were flowing like they were riding the currents of reality itself. Billions of people around the world watched through broadcast feeds, all of them going through the most important moment in history together. The ships arrived at the right place, which was a huge field that had been set up according to instructions found in genetic memories and old texts. As the buildings settled, the shimmering fields around them disappeared, and doors started to open. Michael's heart started to race. Commander Park was next to him, having come down from the moon just for this moment. Catherine Rodriguez, Dr. Okoye, and spiritual leaders from all over the world made up a welcoming committee. They did not represent countries or governments but all of humanity. The first figure came out of the middle ship, and Michael heard everyone watching gasp in shock. The creature had a head, 2 arms, and 2 legs, but it was not human. Skin that looked like it was shimmering with a subtle iridescence, eyes that were bigger and more expressive than human eyes, and movement that was graceful enough to suggest different gravity or maybe just different evolution. But the look on that face was clear. Happiness, warmth, affection. The being came closer, hands open in a gesture of peace that seemed to be universal. When it spoke, the voice went into people's minds and ears at the same time. It wasn't intrusive, it was like a gift. Children of Earth, the voice said, and it held generations of patience and hope. We have waited so long for this moment. I am Keeper Chauvin of the Sirius Collective, one of many who helped you grow. You have done so well. You have exceeded our greatest hopes. Michael stepped forward, representing all of humanity, and tears streamed down his face. We're honored. We're thankful. We have so many questions. Michael thought Chauvin's face showed a smile. And we have so much to talk about. But first, may I? The being held out a hand, clearly asking for permission to touch. Michael took it, and as soon as their hands touched, he understood everything. It wasn't words but direct knowledge transfer through touch. He saw Sirius and worlds full of civilizations. He also saw the huge network of cosmic cultures that humans were now joining. He saw Earth through Chauvin's eyes as a valuable experiment, a world full of hope, and a place that was carefully watched over. Chauvin said directly, "You are more than we dared to think. We gave you the vault, but what you did with it, how you grew, how you came together, and how you kept your compassion despite all the problems, that is purely human. That is your gift to the universe." Other beings came out of the ships. They were different species, each one representing a civilization that had added to humanity's genetic heritage. One looked like tall, graceful beings with feathered crests, the Pleiadian delegates. Another one looked like crystal, as if their bodies were made of living light. They were from a civilization that existed in part in quantum states. Some were still hard to describe because their forms had changed to fit environments and evolutionary paths that were very different from those on Earth. But even though they were all different, they all had one thing in common. They all cared deeply about people. Dr. Okoye stepped up to speak for the spiritual traditions of Earth. Our ancestors called you gods, angels, and star beings. But your family. You gave us life and let us grow. How can we ever thank you? A Pleiadian delegate answered, and their voice was like music. You already have. Every time people chose kindness over cruelty, growth over stagnation, and unity over division, you thanked us. You showed that consciousness naturally moves toward wisdom when it is given freedom and love. That was the great experiment, and you did it perfectly. Catherine came closer, her archaeologist's mind still working even though it was too much for her. The myths and ancient texts were real. The stories our cultures have told for thousands of years were memories. Chauvin pointed to the ships. Would you like to see more? We have brought archives, records of your growth, technologies to share, and most importantly, we have brought teachers who want to learn from you. Learn from us? Maria asked, shocked. The crystalline being spoke, and their voice echoed through many dimensions at once. Each seeded world develops unique abilities based on its environment and challenges. Earth's particular combination, your species' diversity, your artistic expression, your capacity for both logic and intuition, your beautiful, fierce resilience, these are rare and precious. We do not come to uplift you. We come to exchange knowledge as equals. The exchange started hours later when the sun set and rose again. Delegates from Earth toured the ships and saw technology that looked like magic but was really just a better understanding of physics that people were just starting to understand. Quantum computers that worked with the mind. Propulsion systems that moved through space-time instead of through it. Medical technologies that could heal by putting genetic expression back in line with the best templates. But the cosmic visitors also traveled around Earth, amazed by the music, art, food, literature, and amazing variety of cultures that people have. They listened to Bach and drums from Africa. They tried foods from all over the world. They read philosophy and poetry. They went to museums and watched dance shows. Chauvin stood in front of a painting in the Louvre and said, "This ability to express internal experience through external form, this is amazing. We don't have anything like human art. Your consciousness works in ways that are unique to us." A small group, including Michael, was invited to have a private conversation on the flagship. The ship felt natural on the inside with walls that seemed to breathe, light that changed with the mood, and spaces that felt both big and small. Chauvin led them to a room with holographic pictures that showed the history of the seeding project. The keeper said, 50,000 years ago, our civilizations found a world with perfect conditions. Earth. It had primates with great potential but limited by biological constraints. We debated, should we interfere? Evolution is sacred. We do not take that decision lightly. The hologram showed groups of beings from many different species arguing. We finally chose a middle ground. We would give you genetic improvements, the vault, but we wouldn't tell you how to grow. You would have free will, real freedom to succeed or fail and to grow in the way you wanted. James asked, why? Why take that chance? We could have killed ourselves. And you almost did a lot of times, Chauvin said. But forced evolution isn't real evolution. A species that is saved by others never learns to be strong. We loved you too much to take away the struggle that would make you strong. The hologram showed the history of people, including wars, suffering, mistakes, but also breakthroughs, acts of heroism, and moments of great beauty. We watched in pain when you hurt each other. We cheered when you made progress. But we couldn't step in until you told us you were ready. That signal came today. Dr. Okoye leaned in. The beacon, it's not automatic, is it? It wouldn't have worked if everyone had been afraid or hated each other, even at 50% activation. That's right, a Pleiadian said. The beacon needs more than just activation. It needs a unified positive intention. The fact that it worked shows that you have reached the level of consciousness evolution needed. You are ready, both technologically and spiritually. Maria asked the question that was on everyone's mind. What happens now? Where do we fit in this cosmic family? Chauvin's face was warm. Whatever you choose, you're now full members of the Galactic Confederation. Thousands of species work together for their own benefit, share knowledge, and solve problems. You can use our technologies, learn from us, and explore new planets. You can also settle on new planets and take part in cosmic projects. But, the crystal being said, you can also stay mostly on Earth and take your time to process all of this and grow at your own pace. There's no rush. You have thousands of years ahead of you. The most important thing is that you're no longer alone. You're connected. Lisa wanted to know what it meant in real life. Will you help us fix the problems that are still on Earth? Climate change, disease, and energy needs. We will share what we know, Chauvin said carefully, but you must come up with the solutions. Your activated scientists are already working on technologies that will solve these problems. We can speed up that process, but you must be the ones who put the solutions into action and own them. Otherwise, you will become dependent instead of empowered. The integration went on for the next few weeks. Cosmic delegates stayed on Earth, setting up embassies and starting formal knowledge exchange programs. People traveled to other worlds through the quantum gates, where they saw civilizations that were millions of years old and wonders that made them think about what was possible. But maybe the most important thing was that the activated humans kept changing. Every day, more features became available. Children born after the threshold had amazing skills from birth, not superhuman, but fully human in ways that previous generations couldn't access. Michael stood in the Cosmic Communications Center again a month after their first contact. This time it was to help people join galactic civilization. Activation is at 73% and still going up, Maria said. At this rate, almost everyone will be activated in a year. And, Yuki said with excitement, we're seeing second-generation capabilities emerge. Some activated people are developing what we're calling cosmic attunement, the ability to sense quantum fields, navigate through the gates intuitively, and even communicate telepathically over long distances. Commander Park called from the quickly growing lunar station. Michael, I'm standing next to engineers from 3 different civilizations. We're building the first starship made by humans. We're not using their technology, we're using what they've taught us and adding our own ideas. It's going to be beautiful. Dr. Okoye told us about things that were happening on Earth. The change in society goes on. With unlimited clean energy from quantum sources, scarcity is coming to an end. Universal basic resources are becoming a reality. People are free to follow their passions: art, science, exploration, and service. The world our ancestors dreamed of is becoming a reality. Catherine sent pictures from places where archaeologists work. Every day we find more proof of past visits and guidance. Our history is being rewritten not just as the story of one species, but as a chapter in a much bigger cosmic story. Michael got a message from Chauvin asking for a private meeting. They met in the garden that had been made just for cosmic-human interaction. Plants from both Earth and other worlds grew together, making a beauty that neither could achieve on their own. Michael, Chauvin said, I want to tell you something about the vault that even we didn't fully expect. Yes, we gave you enhancements, intelligence, adaptability, and the ability to live longer. But we also encoded something deeper, the ability for consciousness to evolve exponentially. You're not just using the abilities we gave you, you're also developing new ones that we never thought of. Michael felt a rush. You mean we're changing in ways you didn't plan for? That's right. And it's beautiful. Your creativity, your artistic expression, and your ability to feel deeply are all making new neural pathways and genetic expressions. In a few generations, humans may develop abilities that no other civilization in the galaxy has. What do you mean? Chauvin's face showed that he was amazed. We don't know. That's what's so exciting. You're not becoming us, you're becoming yourselves fully, and that self is something new in the universe. They sat in silence for a moment, watching kids of all kinds, human and not, play together, learn from each other, and make friends that crossed worlds. Chauvin said softly, we gave you a gift and you've given us one back. You've reminded us of what we've forgotten over the millions of years we've been alive. The joy of discovery, the beauty of struggle and growth, and the power of art and emotion. Your youth as a species is your strength, not your weakness. Michael grinned. On Earth we say, it takes a village to raise a child. I think people are learning that on a cosmic level. It took a galaxy to raise us. And now, Chauvin said, you're not a child anymore. You're a young adult who is ready to help the family. We can't wait to see what you'll become. As Michael walked back to the center, he thought about the journey that had brought him from finding purple sequences in DNA to being Earth's representative in a galactic community. But the real miracle wasn't the technology or the connection. It changed the way people thought about things. People had learned that they weren't the only ones. More than that, people had learned that they were loved, valued, and part of something big and beautiful. And that information made everything different. Kids grew up knowing they were part of the universe. Adults followed their dreams, knowing that scarcity was coming to an end. Scientists used the knowledge of thousands of civilizations to do their research. Artists showed how amazing it is to be connected to the universe. Spiritual leaders from all traditions found that their teachings were true and grew. The vault kept opening, showing layer after layer of potential through it all. People weren't turning into aliens. They were becoming fully and wonderfully human, which was something they had always been able to do. 5 years after the big event, Dr. Torres stopped doing research. He spent his days teaching, writing, and spending time with his family. But on the anniversary of their first meeting, he went back to Geneva for the ceremony to remember the day everything changed. He spoke to the crowd one last time in front of the monument, which was a sculpture of human DNA and cosmic stars. He simply said, "We learned we are not alone. But more importantly, we learned that we are loved and valued. We are part of a family that spans galaxies and time." The vault inside us was never just about skills or improvements. It was about potential, the potential to become anything we dare to dream. He looked at the faces in front of him. They were all humans, but there were also delegates from dozens of other species who had come to celebrate with their new family members. Michael's voice was strong as he said, "We stand here today not as rescued primitives, not as chosen ones, but as cosmic children who've come of age. We've proven ourselves not through perfection but through persistence. Not through conquest but through compassion. Not through isolation but through unity. The vault is open, the beacon is on, the gates are ready, and humanity, beautiful, diverse, strong and creative, is finally home among the stars. Our strength goes far beyond our homeworld because it was always meant to. We carry within us the legacy of galaxies, the wisdom of thousands of years, and the hope of countless beings who thought we could succeed. And we have. So let's move forward together as both humans and cosmic beings. Let's create, explore, love, and grow. Let's make a future that is worthy of the gift we've been given. Let's be the link between Earth's wisdom and cosmic knowledge. Let's finally understand what it means to be ourselves. We are the people of the world. We are the children of the stars. We are home." Michael felt completely at peace as the ceremony came to an end and the party began. Music from 100 worlds filled the air, children of different species played together, and humans and cosmic families shared meals and stories. The vault had revealed its deepest secret. People were never meant to be small, alone, or cut off from others. People were made for the stars, programmed to be citizens of the universe, and meant for amazing things that no one can even imagine. And now at last that fate was coming true. The human DNA vault had been opened, the secrets of the past had been revealed, and people had learned what they were really like. Not by chance but on purpose. Not as animals that evolved by chance, but as consciousness that was purposefully planted and lovingly cared for. The light on the beacon came on. The family was together. And the universe welcomed its newest and most amazing members with open arms. People were home. And the fun was just starting. The end.